Good morning and welcome to Mr. Wizard's Workshop, episode 32. This week's episode will be Productivity Principles, number 6. So last week I discussed the fifth of a group of core principles for personal productivity. These principles are the mindsets, beliefs, paradigms, patterns, mental models, which can be the foundation to build all of your specific productivity techniques, systems, and practices on. Quick reminder, last week's principle, number 5, was internal chaos creates external chaos. The basic thought was if you have chaos on the inside, you're going to make your life chaotic. And there's a feedback loop. Chaos on the outside can trigger even more inner chaos. So I'll post the link to last week's episode in the description of this week's workshop recording in case you want to review this important productivity principle. And principle number 6 is focus your talents and your strengths on your biggest opportunities. So in life, there are only a relatively few things that are really matter. And if you focus and work on only or principally those things that matter the most each day, your biggest opportunities, you will find huge long-term success. An example in the physical world, if you save $1 at the end of 56 years at 10% interest, which you probably couldn't get these days, you'll be a millionaire with an investment of only $21,000. So this is the magic of compounding. So if you focus your talents and strengths each day on the biggest opportunities that you have, then you get huge leverage. You are compounding your results. The basic principle out of this is when you begin your workday, do your highest value work at the beginning of the day. But that begs the question, do you know what your highest value activities are? So I'm using a productivity pyramid. It's from Eben Pagan, someone who I really like, and he's really into the whole productivity thing. I've gotten a lot of good ideas from him over the years. So there's a 4-level pyramid, starting at the top with the highest lifetime value activities. Next down is the high dollar per hour activities. Lower on the pyramid is low dollar per hour activities. And at the bottom is the zero or negative value activity. And there are different domains within each of those levels. I mean, we're talking primarily or focusing on business productivity. And obviously that's one of the key domains, but there's also health, spiritual, family, community, and you can chunk up the domains, slightly differently. These are the ones I use. So I went ahead and put in some specific examples of things that I have on each of those domains. And I've gone through and done this exercise in the past, and I revisited it a little bit for this week's workshop. Starting at the bottom, zero or negative value. So eating sugary snacks, which I haven't completely eliminated, but I'm cutting down a lot. Smoking, which I have eliminated, and gossiping at the water cooler are the Twitter equivalent of that. I pretty much don't do that. So some level 2, low dollar value per hour. The basic idea here is delegate as much as possible. And then there are going to be some things that would be low dollar value, but need to get done. But for those, you block them. So some of the examples I have is website administration, managing emails in my 3 email accounts. That's a perfect example of things I block. So I don't constantly cycle through my emails. I block out particular times that I'm going to work on the email account. House cleaning. So I've got some level of delegation on that. Weekly grocery shopping. Can't really delegate. Something needs to get done. But again, I time block it. So I only make one trip a week into town for grocery shopping. And design of lead magnets. So while content work falls into a higher category, the actual design work, I can outsource it and get much more productive use of my time. So level 3, some other high dollar value things that I've identified specifically, connecting interactions. That would be reaching out to ideal potential clients via social media, coaching fulfillment calls where for my customers, my clients, I actually get on the call with them, conducting discovery calls and building my contact lists in GetResponse. And then level 4, high lifetime value. And again, while this isn't a complete list, I could try to pick some from almost every domain. Daily cardio, have a minimum target now, which I'm hitting 6K. Steps every day. On the spiritual side, daily meditation, get at least 30 minutes in every day. I've got one specific item here, spend quality time with family each day. In the business area, it's master online marketing, and that's really my one thing, my high level one thing that I focus on working on basically every day. In conjunction with that, building funnels and content development. That would be my YouTube videos, YouTube shorts, and this weekly live workshop. I'm not allocating time to it right now, but it's on my high lifetime list, develop a group coaching program, periodically strategizing, refining my daily and weekly positive rituals. So I'll do a recap of this principle 6. And as usual, I like to bring in a few meaningful quotes. Here are the 4 quotes I gathered up for today. Your talent is God's gift to you, and what you do with it is your gift back to God. So true happiness involves the full use of one's power and talents. John W. Gardner. I actually like this one from Dean Koontz, who is an extremely successful author. I really believe that everyone has a talent, ability, or skill that he or she can mine to support themselves and to succeed in life. And this last one's anonymous, but embrace your talent and pursue it. You won't believe what you can accomplish. So productivity principle number 6 is focus your talents and your strengths on your biggest opportunities. Action item for this week is identify and write down one business domain item in each of the 4 levels of the productivity pyramid. I would recommend going ahead and populating all the pyramid levels across the domains that are most important to you. As a reminder, at the top, the high lifetime value activity. So what is the one thing, the most important thing for your business that falls into this high lifetime value activity? Very likely, or definitely should be something, I think, around client getting the really high value client getting activities, but what specifically is that for you? Next level down, high dollar value per hour. So for me, as a reminder, there's several things, but one of those is getting on the calls, coaching calls weekly with my clients. The next level down would be the low dollar value per hour. So things that you can't eliminate, but you might be able to delegate. And then at the bottom, that's a 0 or even negative value. And maybe try to think of one thing that you're doing and maybe in the business area that on reflection, maybe you really don't need to do it. You could just completely eliminate it. All right. So a quick question to ponder for you. So, are you an entrepreneur who's highly motivated to improve your productivity, but you still struggle with procrastination and regularly find yourself neglecting your highest priority task? Time blocking is my number 1 productivity procrastination beater technique for folks who do struggle with productivity. Schedule a free 30-minute quick start to time blocking working session with me, and I'll show you how to beat procrastination and get your shit done. So I'm a master of time blocking, and I can help you master it also. I have a very limited number of time blocks in my calendar, so grab a slot while you can, and I'll put my scheduling link in the description of this week's video. So brief announcements. As usual, if you're watching the recording and found it helpful, I appreciate a like. And if you're not already subscribe. And if you know someone who enjoy or benefit from the video, please send them the link. As always, if you have any follow-up questions or comments, please post them. I always respond to the post. And in the description of this week's recording, I'll post the link to last week's episode. Now open the floor up for questions and answers.
Hi, Stephen.
Hi there.
Just like you, I went through the training by Evan Hagen regarding this, but I kind of struggle with attaching a monetary value to all of my activities. That's what I struggle with.
Right.
I more or less have my list of priorities based on what I feel is highest priority, right? For the business, it's monetary values, but for life.
Yeah, fair enough. High lifetime value, I put in on the health side, daily cardio, minimum 6,000 steps. You can't really put, what's the dollar value of that? I guess you could say if it gets me an extra 5 or 10 years, there's some underlying significant monetary value.
Billions, Stephen.
Lots and lots of money, especially when you get outside of the business domain. I think in the business domain, that filter of lifetime dollar value and high dollar value, low dollar value, and no value makes sense. Well, one way to come at it is just in the business domain. What do you think your number 1 lifetime high value activity is?
Well, definitely getting clients, because anything else can be outsourced, or you can hire a professional to do anything else. Even fulfillment, right? Like I know that we love to be coaches or consultants, and
Right.
we believe we're the best at what we do, but the reality is that there's many great coaches, but very few great coaches who also find their own client. Yeah, if we were allowed to do just one thing, it would be getting clients, and for anything else, we can hire a professional or someone with experience.
Eben pretty much makes the point that the lifetime value on the business side should definitely include client getting activities. Now you can break it up a little bit more even at that highest level. For example, conducting client conversation is one of the things I had in the highest dollar value. And I honestly don't think I'd ever, I mean, I guess if I grew a coaching empire and had lots of coaches that work for me, I guess I could, even on the client getting calls, I could outsource that. I mean, Evan does, and so does Christian Mickelson. But right now, for the next little while, I think that's something I'll be continuing to be doing. And then the content development, something I'm actively focusing on now, and I think it will have a high lifetime value. And then funnel building, it's a piece of that. And how you chunk it up, I mean, different people can come at it different ways, but I like to break it into fairly discrete categories. So rather than just having one item, client getting stuff, I've broken it out into, 3 or 4 things specific to client getting and growing my customers.
I'm glad you brought up the coaching empire as an example, because right. if we were defining our priorities purely on monetary values, then we would all be building coaching empires. Right now, for me, I don't want to hire other coaches to do fulfillment, right? Like that's not the dream that I'm working toward, but that's never going to scale as much as if there's a ceiling to that, and the ceiling happens pretty fast too, right? Like, you can scale with groups and so on, but if you're passionate about coaching and you always want to do coaching, then there's only so much you can do. So if we would create the list of highest priority tasks purely on monetary values, then I shouldn't be doing that. But that's what I meant earlier with, I kind of struggle with this very strict application that Eben Pagan, because there's several things that I really enjoy doing in my business and that make me feel extremely fulfilled, that are not the highest monetary activity, right? So at that point, we all need to ask ourselves, like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to become the highest earning coach in the world, or the highest earning coaching entrepreneur in the world, or am I doing this for other reasons?
Yeah, and I think even Eben assumes that you're going to factor in what you want to do, what you want to accomplish with your business. Like you, I don't think I would ever want to have a coaching empire. I have a revenue target that I'm going to cap out on if I stuck just with one-on-one coaching, unless I move to some really astounding rates. But I think there's within the coaching domain, I think there are other things like, the next level up would be group coaching, mastermind, and digital product. But like you, I really enjoy the one-on-one coaching. It energizes me, and it helps me to hone my marketing and get an even better understanding of what the folks in my niche need and want. I don't think it's necessarily limiting, or you have to assume that when you say highest lifetime value, just dollar or even high dollars, it's just another filter or way to think about what's important and what's not important. I mean, just like the Eisenhower matrix is one way to do it, I think this pyramid is another way to do it. And the thing that I resonate with the most is actually the one thing from the book, The One Thing. But all 3 of those and the Pareto principle, all of those are ways to put some prioritization on what you're working on.
Yeah, I totally agree.
What do you think your lowest value or negative value thing is that we'll keep it in the business context, so you don't have to tell me anything embarrassing about yourself?
Right, like all the lowest, it's funny, like all the lowest or negative dollar activities. But I mean, negative dollar activities are also hobbies, right? But that's the thing, like there's hobbies make us fulfilled and energized to get back to work. But then there's destructive hobbies.
Yes.
Right, like meeting a group of friends is energizing, but meeting a group of friends and then crashing with way too much alcohol and, like being hungover and that's so what, okay, so for my business, like what would I say is my lowest dollar activity?
Yeah, or even just negative. And maybe you've already weeded all those out. I mean, I'd say I've eliminated most of them.
Actually, that is a really good question. I can't even answer you right now on the spot. So what do I do all day at work? So, right, like one of the most common ones is emails and messaging, right? It would be wonderful to outsource that. But then again, who do I email and message? It's either an existing client or someone that I feel like would make a great client in the future. So I don't feel like this is entirely wasted.
And I use email as a specific example, and it's actually, I put it in the low dollar value, or, there are things that need to get done. But if you block it, again, using time blocking into chunks, work my emails, 30-minute chunk, an hour chunk, then I think you're being effective. On the other hand, if you regularly just cycle in, oh, I'm going to go check my emails for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, or, oh, ding, I got mail, let me go look at it. Then you're actually wasting time. It's negative because you're context switching.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an effective use of your time. So
yeah, that is a very good differentiation. So I do have the tendency for a little OCD where when I have unanswered messages or questions or notifications, I get this antsy feeling of, oh, I just want to check off the list, right? I want to answer, like when in our group someone asks a question, like when I see it, I get this feeling of, oh, I want to answer it right away so it's done. I feel good about myself. Right. Which is not according to time blocking. So I guess that would be it.
Well, and you could probably deal with that by just blocking out, however you describe it, work Facebook. So you don't even go in and look, you have it blocked out 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. When it comes to that point on your calendar, that's when you go in, respond to anything in the private Facebook group, your public Facebook group, and also DM or interact to the extent that you do with, other groups. So.
Stephen, I know now what, actually, now that you were describing this, I know now what my lowest dollar activity is. Okay. It is former clients that, we work together, we achieve their goals, yep, and they want to continue on their own. But once in a while, they send me questions about things. And me having to explain to them several times again and again where they can find the resources that I already created for them. You know the situation, like you create a tutorial that's in the members area, or you have a PDF or something, and although they all have access to it, the question still comes 2 months later, and then always re-explaining again. Remember, this was step-by-step guide. We did exactly this in our session in April. There's a recording. They should know, but they forget. And explaining this again and again. It sounds short, but even I need to double check before I tell them it's there. I want to double check it's there. I want to make sure, right? Because maybe that's why they ask me, because it's not there. So, and then typing out the steps, because usually if they ask me, it's because they're not using Google Drive very much, or they don't have the link anymore, or they're, some people are not very organized using this, stuff like that. So I have to write out the steps. It takes more time than you'd think. And it also happens more often than you'd think. And I don't really know a solution to that, because I don't know, I guess it's just part of customer service where, I'm not going to answer them, well, you should know where the replay is or something like that, right? I would never do that.
Right.
But I want them to have the resources that I've created for them. So, but yeah, that's the one. That's the one I'm going to pick.
Well, and maybe the solution is just time block that, however you word it, deal with dumbass former clients, or, respond to silly ass questions. Tell people, again, what I've already told them before. Just block it out, 30 minutes.
Answering already answered questions.
Right, exactly.